So I've never really done a tour type video of the Jeep. Just kind of figured I would wait until it's done per se, but as we all know, project cars never really get done. I should have made an update when I got it and at the 1-year anniversary of owning it, but yeah, I just never did, I suppose. So this is the XJ. As of the upload date of this video, I've had it for exactly 2 years. And I figured I'd show you guys what exactly I'm all about around here. So this is a 2001 Jeep Cherokee Sport. It's got the 4.0 automatic 242 transfer case. We got the Chrysler 8.25 in the back, the Dana 30 in the front. This was the first car I ever bought with my own money. It was $1,500, and it's only been through a couple Wisconsin winters. If we look at these rocker panels, I mean, yeah, they're rusty as all hell, but they're still there, you know. So this Jeep actually came from Colorado, and because of that, by Wisconsin standards, it's pretty clean. Now there are a good handful of scratches and little dents on it in a lot of random places. In just the 2 years I've had this thing, we've already been on quite a good handful of adventures with it, and I can't imagine what stories it may tell in the time I own it beyond today. So I guess we'll start with the outside. This the first major thing you're going to notice is the fender damage here. Despite me previously implying in the past that I've done this has always been here ever since I've had it. So I bought it like this. Is not my fault. I didn't run into anything because I am actually a good driver when I'm not deliberately causing accidents. So the previous owner let his wife drive it one winter, and it was winter in Colorado in the mountains, and she slid off the road and hit a mailbox at 40 miles an hour. Now, if you look at this damage, 40 miles an hour, that's not really that bad for 40 miles an hour. That's actually pretty good. So the only damage to it was a busted sway bar link, and the fog light over here was screwed up. This is one of the first things I actually replaced on it. And you can see it doesn't like line up with the hole in the plastic here like the other one does, because everything is all bent out of shape. Like the bumper behind this thing is kind of not doing so good. And yeah, that is just kind of sitting on there. I don't know, I haven't really done anything about this because after I fixed the fog light and the sway bar link, honestly, I don't really care, you know? It's just cosmetic damage. It doesn't impact the way it drives, or, you know, the hood still latches just fine, so I haven't really put too much concern into fixing this fender. Because I'm not one for cosmetics. I don't really care about having a pretty car, and, you know, the way I use this thing, it's gonna get dented and bruised up anyway, so, you know, because I tend to actually have fun with my Jeep. So I feel like if I do fix this, within like a week, somebody's gonna sideswipe it on the road and it'll be right back to square one. So I just really haven't put that much effort into it or done anything about it really beyond the mechanical fixes. I do have a header panel in the garage waiting to go on here, but it's red, so I'd have to repaint that. And yeah, I don't know, there's just so many other things that I've worried about fixing first before the fender, like, you know, mechanical stuff. You know, it needed new leaf springs and, you know, all sorts of other more important things than the passenger fender. Like, oh no. Something else you might notice is the hood is actually painted a slightly lighter silver than the rest of the car, and that's because this thing sat for so long. The sun and or the snow sitting on it for that long chipped up the paint, and this got all rusty. And you can see I kind of tried to like grind this down, and I just bought a spray can of silver paint from Walmart, you know, to make it look not all rusty and whatnot, but it didn't really work. And yeah, after I tried and failed to do that, I just forgot about it. And I mean, this is kind of, it doesn't look good. I don't like the brighter silver hood because, you know, the sunlight will reflect off of it a bit more than it otherwise would. So the plan with the hood is to obviously repaint it the correct matching silver, but I also want to put some hood vents in it. So to help alleviate the heat soak, and I will get into what I've done about that a little later. So that's why the hood is a different color. Once again, it's just a cosmetic thing, so I really don't care, but I do want to fix that someday. The 250 badge really doesn't mean anything. This actually came off of a four-wheeler we have. I don't know what it's supposed to stand for or what it means. I think it's just a decorative thing that was on this four-wheeler. I guess it fell off of the four-wheeler one day, and so my dad just stuck it on here as a joke, and it's been there for who knows how long now. The funny thing about this 250 badge is usually people think that it means some impressive, displacement number, or like I've engine swapped the thing or something, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just a meme sticker, I suppose. But yeah, there was this one time on the interstate where this guy was passing me. I was in the right lane, as I always am, and some guy, he's passing me in the left lane. He gets probably about eye to eye with me, and then suddenly he just slows down and gets back behind me in the right lane. And I like to think it's because he saw that 250 badge and didn't want to know what was under the hood of this bad boy, so he settled right back into his place behind me on the interstate. Although not particularly spectacular, you might notice there is in fact a four-wheel drive badge here, and if we look underneath, there is a transfer case and a front drive shaft and everything. The reason I bring that up is because a lot of people, for some reason, think this is a two-wheel drive Jeep. I have never said that anywhere, and I don't know if it's like the way I talk about it, that I am somehow imply it's a two-wheel drive, but it's never been a two-wheel drive. It's always been a 4x4. I don't know where people get this sentiment that it is a two-wheel drive Jeep, but yeah, there's your proof right there. I didn't put this on here. This has been on here forever, so I don't. Yeah, it is a 4x4. A while ago, one of my friends borrowed this thing for a couple months, and he was involved in a hit-and-run accident where somebody, I think, backed into this corner, and they dented this plastic and busted the taillight, and there are some scratches here from that. I don't know if he is the one who backed into something and just tried to play it off as a hit-and-run accident. I don't know. I'll find out someday. But did make a video about that, bonus video linked in the description. It's not public anymore because it's really not a great video, and there's no reason to watch it. But yeah, that's what's up with all these scratches here. This beautiful thing right here, this Danger, that was a suggestion from Cam. If you've ever seen AVE's channel, he kind of has a unique lingo where I don't know, he's a funny guy, and he pretty much invented this sticker, and me and Cam thought it would be a hilarious thing to put on the back of the Jeep, and so that I did. Some people think it's hilarious. Some people are actually offended by it. I don't know why, but like for example, I was at a hotel down in Florida a little while ago. And I parked the Jeep outside my hotel room so I could keep an eye on it from, the room. And I saw this family walking by it. And, there was like a father and a mother and like 3 kids. And as the father walked by it, he was kind of like looking at it. And he stops and he's like, huh. And I remember I saw him from way up in my 3rd-story hotel room. He pointed at it to his wife. He's like, that's hilarious. And yeah, so, I mean, some people think it's funny, but other people... Like, especially people down in Florida, might I add, are, for some reason, they read this sign and think it's like an insult to them. Realistically, it's an insult to me, because if I do something stupid while driving this, and they see this sign on the back, they're going to be like, wow, okay, he broke his own rule. But I guess so a lot of people aren't smart enough to figure that out, and so, there have been times in Florida where... somebody in a big jacked up diesel truck with no muffler of any kind will ride my ass with his LED headlights glaring through the back window here. And as soon as he gets a chance, he'll absolutely floor it and roll coal on me for some reason. Probably because I'm just driving slow because, the aerodynamics of a refrigerator over here. But yeah, I don't know. It could be the sign. I don't know. Some people just, you can't make everyone happy. So that's pretty much all the important stuff on the outside. I mean, realistically, I could talk about this thing for hours, but I'm going to try to hurry things along. And so here's what we got on the inside. It's a pretty typical stock interior. apparently the black interior was kind of a rare thing for 2001. I have no idea how true that statement is, but I can't say I've ever seen another 2001 with a black interior. I'm sure, like, literally everybody else has, but yeah, I don't know. I wanted one with a black interior. That was my number one choice. My second choice was tan. What I didn't want was the gray. And real quick, my main primary color choice for the exterior was going to be red. I really wanted a red XJ because I think those ones look the best. My second choice was black. I don't know, I'll get into that later. I wanted to do some special paint combination with a black one, but although silver wasn't really on my list of colors to pick, this one was so clean I couldn't pass it up, and so here we are today. So what do we got? 221,000, almost 222. Yeah, when it gets to 222, definitely gonna take a picture of that. I got it at 196,000 miles, so I've almost put 30,000 on it already in 2 years. But yeah, engine's still running just fine. It's great. I do have a couple modifications in here. I guess we'll start from the top down. So this is an extended idle switch. I do have a video explaining what that does in detail. You might have heard of extended idle, but this is just, I made a custom switch instead of having to take up one of the 3 rocker switch spots. So that's what that one is. This one is a override for the cooling fan. That's how I alleviated heat soak. So when you press this button, the radiator fan turns on for 3 minutes. It's on a time delay relay. Yeah, so this will work if the car is on or off. It doesn't matter. You know, if you're running, you know, if you're off-roading and the engine's getting hot, you can just press this button. It'll turn on the radiator fan. And it also does work naturally, so you know, if the engine goes over 218 degrees, it will still turn on by itself. So that's what the button does. We still got the stock CD player and cassette player. I do use both of them quite often. The display screen doesn't really work unless you hit it. Yeah, that was a fun day when I figured that out. But so yeah, I do want a new stock unit. I don't want to put an aftermarket one in here because the balance and the fade and all these adjusters and the fact that it is both cassette and CD, I really like both of those things. Nothing too fantastic about the climate controls. Just one quick thing. This knob here is really easy to turn in my XJ. Every other XJ I've been in, this knob actually has like some resistance behind it. So I don't know if something's broken in here, but it does still work as it should. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This little interesting random little fact. Down here we've got I got my Bluetooth radio signal frequency hijacker. This is how I like play Bluetooth songs over the radio. Then you got the defrost and the windshield wiper and the fog lights. And yes, it did come factory equipped with the fog lights, so that's pretty cool. This miscellaneous wire here, you stick one of those USB cigarette things in here. Here, I'll show you actually. So you plug this in, and that is routed all the way over here up to the headliner, which is custom. I did this all myself. This is a blanket. So it is really soft. And let's see, I'm not sure if you can see it during the day, but I do have little lights in there, and that is much better at night. It lights it up. It's kind of a nice ambient lighting in here at night. You can't really see it at all very well on the camera, but it is way cooler than it looks. So I'm pretty proud of the headliner. Usually that's the first thing people notice when they get in here. They'll like put their hands up here because it is really soft. And I also did put some sound, what do you call that stuff? Like soundproofing adhesive above the headliner. It does make quite a bit of difference for wind noise, but I'm used to it now, so I can't really say it was worth it, but it does make a difference. You know, I don't regret it, let's put it that way. I do have an overhead console installed. This was not original to the Jeep. I wired this in myself. It was removed from a 1997, so I had to repin some of the wires to get it to work. I might make a video on how to do this someday if anybody's interested in that, but yeah, the Jeep came stock with just the factory dummy light, and I really wanted an overhead console. So if you're not aware, this thing, it tells you what direction you're facing, how hot it is outside. It's a second trip odometer, so you got the trip odometer in here, and you also got this one, so you have two trip odometers. That's pretty cool. Your average fuel efficiency, your current fuel efficiency, your distance to empty, as in like how much gas you have left, you know, how far you can go before you run out of gas, and the elapsed time since last reset. So if I reset this right now, it will count in seconds and minutes and hours how long it's been since I reset it last. So I don't know what you would use something like this for, but it is pretty cool regardless. And then one more step is just off, and from there it just goes back around in a loop. Now the cool thing is you can also press this button over here to set it to metric units. So if you're actually intelligent and live in a country that's not the US, these things are perfectly set up for you as well, you know, and liters per 100 kilometer, and you know, kilometers for distance to empty, and Celsius for the temperature. So that's pretty cool. I really like this overhead console. If not for the display screen up here, it lights up the interior way better than the stock dummy light. So yeah, it was definitely a worthwhile upgrade if you can find yourself one of these. What else we got? This is for a garage door opener. So you stick a garage door opener in here, and you can adjust where this peg is, so that you just push up on this and it'll press the button on the garage door opener. So that's what that compartment is for. I don't have a garage door opener, so I've never really used that. What I do use it for though is in case this thing won't be plugged in for an extended period of time, I do have a little bit of Velcro on the back of it. So I attach that into there, and that's where I keep it when it's not plugged in, the cigarette lighter. And then this one is just a sunglasses holder. As you can see, there is a emergency rubber duck in there instead of some sunglasses. Now I've always just had one of these things for my sunglasses, so I don't know, I just find this to be more convenient, honestly. So that's where I've always kept the shades. Back down to the center console, you know, we've got your pretty typical AW4 PRNDL shifter. This is a NP242 transfer case. I do have a video of how to swap one of those in if you want. This Jeep was originally equipped with a 231, and you know, having the full-time four-wheel drive in the winter is a really useful thing. I have actually made use of it quite a bit. It's really nice not having to flip the lever back and forth as road conditions change. So yeah, I really like the 242 upgrade. If you can, you know, some people would argue it's not really an upgrade because technically it's weaker, so why would you do that? It's really stupid. But I've never had any problems with the 242. I've had it for like 6 months now, and I don't know. Now, if you live somewhere where it doesn't snow, then it's not really, you know, there's not really reason to have the 242. But I really like it. So that's that. And then the rest of the center console is pretty typical of a early 2000s Jeep. Over here we've got the control panel for the lights in the headliner. It's kind of velcroed on here. And then we've also got like a welcoming placard for new passengers of the Jeep. It is called the Reclaimer, as you can see. It's a really long story about how I got that name. Just kind of stuck. It's been called the Reclaimer for, I don't know, there's just nothing else I could really see myself naming this car. I mean, a lot of people like to name their cars after other things like celebrities or, you know, other like names, but this is a machine, and a machine's name it will have. Now, I know it's not a good idea to put things on the airbag, so I do not put things on the airbag in your car. That's not a good idea, because, you know, if I were to get into a crash, these things would become projectiles and they would be launched directly into your face if you were sitting here. So this is not a good idea, but hear me out. You could also just not get into crashes. Nothing too exciting in the glove box.
the owner's manual. I do carry around a pair of eclipse glasses in case I ever find myself in the path of an eclipse. I do have some caffeine pills in here for long drives. Also got some melatonin for when I need to sleep on the road. And, you know, the rest is just like the owner's manual and some documents and whatnot. There is no glove box light. Oh, I really want a glove box light. I think that would be awesome. Maybe I'll make a video how to install a glove box light. No. But every other XJ I've had has had a glove box light. The freaking Comanche has a glove box light, but this thing doesn't. And I'm really upset about that. But, I don't know, at the end of the day, it's just one less thing that can fail. So I guess it's not the end of the world. On the door panels, I do have Infinity sound system tweeters. These were not original to the Jeep. I parted them out from a 1997 that did have the Infinity sound system. They were painted gray. They came out of a gray interior, and I spray painted them black to match the rest of it. You might notice it doesn't exactly match, but I put a coin over this surface here and spray painted the rest of it so that this, you know, so I wouldn't get like paint inside the speaker itself. And I don't know, they turned out pretty nice. They do work. They plugged right in. I didn't have to do any wiring mods. The connector was already in the door panel. And I mean, they're not really great quality, but they are definitely cool to have. It is noticeable, you know, because without them, it's just the door speakers. Over here on the door, you might notice this fancy custom door pocket. I do have a video about those if you're interested in that. Basically, this is just an office organizer from Walmart, bolted to the door panel. It's really nothing that fancy, but I really wanted door pockets because, you know, I like having all that extra storage. So similarly, there is one on this side too, and they have the perfect clearance with the seat. They work really nice. The only problem with these things is they do vibrate a little bit when you open and close the door. But I mean, it's a Jeep, so, you know, everything vibrates when you do anything, so it's really not that bad at all. Moving on to the back seat, the only thing I've really done back here is these custom cup holders. These are bicycle bottle holders. They're just the same thing. I just drilled holes through the door panel and mounted them on here for my non-existent rear seat passengers to have somewhere to put their beverages. The one over here is actually broken off now because my little brother decided to just manhandle the thing until it broke, and he actually ended up breaking the metal welds before the plastic it was bolted to. So I don't know how he did that, but you know, little brother things. Moving on to the trunk, the main mods I've done back here are the full-size spare tire. My Jeep came with a donut spare, so I was able to track down a matching fifth wheel, but not the cover for it. But honestly, like I've said many times before, I'm not one for cosmetics, so I do not care about having a spare tire cover. Really, it's just one less thing to keep track of, honestly. And I also have a fire extinguisher mounted back here. Once again, I just took off this panel and drilled holes through it to mount this into place. So, you know, in case of emergency, whether it be my car or somebody else's, I do have a small fire extinguisher mounted back here. The reason all this tape is on here is because this likes to vibrate when you're driving. It'll make little clinking sounds. I don't know, just kind of gets on my nerves after a while. This box is for the rear main seal replacement procedure. This is where all like the oil pan bolts were. I'm never going to do that again because it's a miserable project, so I don't need that anymore. If you're interested, I just made a tutorial on how to do that. It is a great video. Just totally go watch it if you're wondering how to replace either your oil pan gasket or your rear main seal. In this thing, well, this is a lumbar support thing, in case you're wondering, because the front seats don't have any lumbar support. So usually on longer trips, I'll put one of these behind my back. They really do help. They're like for office chairs. They're not meant for cars, but they work just fine. This thing is my emergency roadside kit. There's just all sorts of supplies in here that I carry around with me everywhere I go. So like this has got like jumper cables and a lighter and a tire pressure gauge and, you know, emergency stuff. I've also got a multimeter and an OBD2 scanner here. a block of wood in case I need to jack the car up on ground that is not suitable for a jack. I've got some tape, some towels, miscellaneous stuff, you know, like a window scraper. Got the hitch receiver in here. A blanket in case I'm on the road and I need to sleep. I have slept in here a handful of times. It's really not that bad. When I do sleep in here, I fold the front seat down and just sleep in the front seat. I don't like fold the back down and lay down. I mean, it's possible, but there's really not enough room in the back, especially if I got a whole bunch of stuff in here. So these are track grabbers. You might have heard of them before. So basically, you strap these around your tire and through the wheel. And you know, if you're stuck in like deep mud or thick snow, as the wheel rotates, these will get caught and they'll give you a boost of traction. I've only really tested them out like once before, and yeah, they kind of help. They kind of work in snow. I don't know about mud yet, haven't yet used them in mud, but just kind of another thing I carry around with me in case of emergencies. Never had to use them yet because the Jeep has yet to get stuck when I've had them. So, and then we've got some flat tire supplies in case I get a flat. I've actually used quite a bit of these. And then some, like an extra quart of oil and an extra quart of transmission fluid as well. As long as, you know, along with a few other odds and ends. And often this stuff is used to help other people, not myself. So that's why I carry it around with me everywhere I go. This thing is just a little tool bag. It's just got some, you know, basic tools in it in case I need to do some work at somebody's house or on some project while I'm on the move. And then this is where I keep my camera tripod. So this is how I film all my how-to videos, is with this bad boy right here. It is adjustable. I don't know what, there's your brand right there. I bought this at a thrift store for like $5, and I've had it for a really long time now. But yeah, using nothing but my cell phone and this thing, I've made pretty much every video on my channel. So I carry that around with me everywhere I go in case a video opportunity presents itself. And yeah, I've used that quite a bit. One last thing in the interior you may have caught eyes on earlier is this license plate I have attached to the back tailgate here. This is actually the Jeep's license plate. If you're not familiar, I had a 2006 Jeep Liberty as my first car. It was a family hand-me-down. It really was in not good condition. I do have a trailer for the Jeep. It was pretty cool. I like that thing. But as my first car, although it was a Liberty, I know they're not that great, it does have a lot of sentimental value for me, because that's really how I got into Jeeps, was that damn Liberty. So I kept the license plate off of it and have mounted it to the tailgate in remembrance of the Jeep in all its glory. Ah, the part we've all been waiting for. Here she is, the venerable Jeep 4.0. So if you didn't know, trivia fact, the 4.0 was the only engine available for 2001. I think that's kind of interesting because the 4.0 was not designed with the Cherokee in mind, and the Cherokee was not designed to originally house the 4.0. So here we have an engine that was not designed to be in this vehicle, in a vehicle that was not designed to have this engine, and it is the only option for 2001. So that's a pretty cool little meaningless trivia fact that you can now tell somebody. We've of course got the orange valve cover paint. I love that. Orange and black is probably my two favorite color combo options. I also kind of did the same thing with the airbox here. As we all know, stripes add horsepower, so this thing is the fastest Jeep in the West, even though it's not fast and I don't live in the West. But regardless, that's why I wanted a black XJ originally, was because I planned, just like the Jeep, I planned to have a black XJ and paint the pinstripe fluorescent orange. I think that would have looked awesome, especially with the side marker. You have the orange that flows off of the side marker in a straight shot line all the way down the side of the car and meets the tail light in quite possibly the most beautiful pinstripe paint configuration there ever has been. But
like I said earlier, the silver one was too clean to not buy, and so here we are today. I don't know, might have it repainted black someday, because that pinstripe idea, I think that would look sick. No, don't steal that idea from me, by the way. That's my idea. It's copyrighted. So unlike my ex, this engine has never left me for dead. I've done a lot of work to this thing, but it's all been preventative. It's never died on me. It's never left me anywhere. 220,000 miles, and it is still running like brand new. I love the 4.0. I say it's the best engine of all time. I like to argue with my friends about that. You know, it's not fast, it's not very efficient, but damn does it last forever. These are the most reliable engines I've ever had to work on. It's so easy. You can take the whole thing apart with a 1/2-inch wrench and a screwdriver. It's another thing I like to say. So I've torn this thing apart and put it back together quite a few times. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted to learn how things worked. So I actually replaced the head gasket on it a while ago. Not because it needed to be replaced, but just kind of because it was leaking oil. It wasn't really blown, or, you know, it wasn't a bad head gasket. But I replaced it anyway because I wanted to see that process. I wanted to know what the top of the pistons looked like. I wanted to know what it was like to replace a cylinder head gasket before. And, in doing that, I learned not only those things, but also what it's like to break your intake manifold. And yeah, it's never let me down. It's never let me down. And you might notice it is pretty clean in here. That's just because a lot of things are new. So the intake manifold is new because I had to replace that after my dumbass broke it trying to put the original one back in. The injectors, I do have 4-hole fuel injectors, and this connector was all screwed up and frayed. There was bare wires hanging out. That's why this is newer looking. I have a lot of things labeled in here because I have taken it apart quite a few times, and although I don't really need these labels anymore because this one's just melted off, because I know where everything goes now. But, you know, when I was learning this stuff, because this is like the first car I ever really worked on extensively, so when I was learning all this stuff, it was really helpful to have those labels everywhere, and especially with the fuel injectors. You don't want to mix these up, because then the engine won't run right. But regardless, you can take an incredible amount of things off of this engine and still have it run. It's, I don't know, I should stop praising this thing, but I think my favorite upgrade, kind of a sleeper upgrade, honestly, if we check under the oil filler cap here, you might notice a glint of orange. I do have Harland Sharp roller rockers in this thing, and although it is a really seat in the pants kind of a feeling, as that one guy said, I really like the roller rockers. Definitely, if I had to pick one favorite upgrade on this thing, roller rockers, 100%. They don't really add that much power, but they do consistently add power across the board. It's like at most like 10 horsepower maybe. But what I really like about them is that the engine revs up much easier. It doesn't fight you when you try to rev it. And because there's less friction on the rocker arms, when you get past like 3,000 RPM on a stock 4.0, it just falls on its face. It's like running faster than you're capable of running, and you know how you just kind of like trip and fall over and die? That's what happens with the 4.0 after 3,000 RPM. But with the roller rockers, that effective red line is increased to like 4,500. I don't know. I've never really revved it beyond 4,500, so I don't know where exactly that goes. But definitely the roller rockers, they were really expensive, but I would definitely buy roller rockers again. I'm thinking about getting some for the MJ, but not right now. There's too many other things to worry about with that truck. So yeah, if you have some extra cash laying around, which I know like literally nobody ever does ever, but the roller rockers, great upgrade for the 4.0. I absolutely love them. Thing you might notice in here is that I don't have AC. So the Jeep originally did have air conditioning. That's what these two ports are for. But it didn't work. I'm pretty sure the compressor was bad or something, and when I saw the prices for a new compressor, I was like, I'll just not have AC, because I live in Wisconsin and it never gets hotter than like 95 degrees out. So you can roll down the windows just as easily as you can turn a knob to get AC. So I just ripped the whole thing out and got rid of it. I still have the compressor, but I just threw everything else away. So if you guys somebody wants a compressor, I guess you can have mine, because I ain't gonna use it. So we've got this free spinning idler pulley here, which is just a way to cancel or delete the AC, I guess. You might also notice that there is no fan shroud. I am currently working on a video to determine its effectiveness. So I see a lot of people arguing on the internet whether or not you need a fan shroud, and I've driven around for quite some time without a fan shroud with no issues, but I got a temperature gun. I'm recording some data. Hopefully gonna have a video out soon delving into how effective the fan shroud actually is. Now, if you remember earlier with that button I was talking about and the electric fan, here I'll go press the button right now actually. So this fan blows conveniently over the exhaust manifold and the fuel rail, which basically this eliminates heat soak. If you're not familiar, 2000 plus models with California emissions, that would mean the dual catalyst manifolds. Because there's two catalytic converters in the engine bay, it gets really hot in here, and when you shut off the car and the coolant stops circulating, that heat will ambiently rise to the fuel rail. You know, it gets trapped under the hood, and that'll cause the fuel in the rail to vaporize before it can reach the cylinders, and that causes a cylinder 3 misfire. Usually cylinders 2 and 3 are the most affected by that. So if you have a 2000 plus XJ and you have a cylinder 2 or 3 misfire, but only on warm startups, it's probably heat soak. So there's a couple different things you can do about it. You can see I have the fuel rail wrapped in heat shielding. I also have this heat shield down here on top of the intake manifold, but neither of those things fixed it for me. It wasn't until I saw a video by D&E in the garage who showed me how to wire this override for the cooling fan. So basically the blue wires go into the dash to that button, and here I have a time delay relay set up to about 3.5 minutes. So whenever you push the button, it sends a signal to this relay, which powers the cooling fan circuit and just turns on the fan for 3.5 minutes. So pretty much every time I shut off the Jeep, I just press that button, the fan runs for 3 minutes, and then I can start it up with absolutely no worry about whether or not it'll be heat soaked. This is a 100% cure. I've never had heat soak using the fan. It's just a matter of remembering to turn it on is all. You know, obviously if you don't press the button, then you're probably gonna get heat soak. Now there is probably some way to wire it up to your ignition so that when you shut off the car, the fan automatically turns on. But I didn't want to do that because in the winter, when it's like negative 20 degrees, you don't need to do this because it's so freaking cold outside that you don't get heat soak anyway. So, you know, I don't want to be draining extra energy from the battery when it's cold. And speaking of which, this battery I put in basically the first day I had it, so it's only 2 years old now. But even with running this, every time I shut off the car, it's never failed to start. So it really doesn't drain that much energy at all. And that's pretty much what I did to combat heat soak. And as you can see, I have accidentally perfectly timed that with the delay for it automatically shutting off. So that's cool. Underneath, I suppose I should start at front. You might notice these hose clamps right here. I do have a transmission cooler installed in here. I kind of followed, what's his name, Out Jeeping. His channel, he's got a good video on how to install a transmission cooler. So I did that, and the AW4 is now not running hot. You know, it solved the transmission overheating issues. Basically just spliced it into that line there and that line right there. And yeah, I don't know. The hardest part about that was actually mounting it in there. Just got 2 sticks of metal from Menards and bolted them to the back of the bumper. So that's what this bolt is, and that's what these 2 bolts are. Now as for everything else under here, suspension stuff, I haven't really changed all that much. I've replaced pretty much everything under here. I've never had death wobble. I've been lucky enough not to have death wobble, but everything was worn out, so I just replaced it anyway. The only upgrade I've done
well, I guess I've upgraded the track bar bolt. I do have a video on that if you're interested. But I also have a ZJ steering. So if you buy a tie rod from a 93 to 98 ZJ with a V8 specifically, it'll have a solid beam for a tie rod instead of a hollow tube. So that is technically stronger, and it just bolts right onto the XJ stuff. So highly recommended steering upgrade if you're interested, because I know the stock XJ tie rod is pretty weak and it's known to bend, and then obviously you can't drive. Nothing really too exciting for the transmission. It is just, you know, your stock automatic. I do have a video on how to replace the transmission if you're interested. This one is out of a 1999. So yeah, and then obviously here we've got the 242 transfer case. Just swapped that in, and it's been working absolutely great. The exhaust is stock until the muffler. I have a Flowmaster Super 44. I really love this muffler. I also have a video on that, but before I end this video, I will start this thing up for you guys so you can hear that, because this, I don't know, this is a really good muffler. I love it, especially compared to stock. It gives it a really deep rumble, and it's not obnoxious. So if you're looking for something like that, the Flowmaster Super 44 is what you're after. On the back here, I did install my own hitch receiver. It did not have one from the factory. I've made use of it a handful of times. We got some rough country shocks in the back. The front shocks, I believe, are Gabriel's. I do not recommend Gabriel shocks. They have not been good at all. I used to have Gabriel's in the back, but the bar pins actually broke. So I replaced them with rough country shocks. I've been meaning to do the front shocks as well, but those ones haven't broken yet. So yeah, have not had good luck with Gabriel shocks. Rough country's in the back. Those have been acting pretty nice so far. I do have new leaf springs. I really should have made a video on how to replace those. But when I put them in, I also did a 1.5 inch lift, which I have since taken out. It was just causing too many problems. I didn't have the money, time, or effort to deal with. So this is riding on stock height right now. The gas tank, I need to replace. Well, I guess I don't need to replace the tank itself, but the seal where the fuel pump exits the tank is leaking. So I have an evap leak. I'm not leaking any liquid gasoline on the ground, thankfully. But the check engine light's always been on in this thing, and it's for a damn evap leak. And I just learned relatively recently that that leak is from the top of the gas tank. So I am probably going to make a video on that. In doing so, I do plan to actually put a ZJ gas tank in here. So stay tuned for that. Another upgrade I do want to do is rear disc brakes. I do have the factory drums still. Everything is brand new, and they work fine. Like, seriously, there is nothing wrong with the factory drums, especially for a stock XJ. But if you lift it and put on bigger tires and you have a whole bunch of extra weight, obviously the drums are going to fall off the charts pretty quickly. So I think even on a stock vehicle, having rear drums is not a bad idea, or rear discs is not a bad idea. Definitely want to make a video on that in the future, but that might be a while. Number one, because everything in the braking system is brand new. I've overhauled the whole thing. New front brakes, calipers, new rear brakes, wheel cylinders, all of the brake lines, everything in the whole braking system is brand new. So I don't exactly want to be throwing away these new parts. I'm going to get, you know, a little bit of life out of them. And also I have a whole bunch of other things that are much higher priority than upgrading already perfectly functioning brakes. I suppose that leads directly into the next topic, and that is future plans. Now, I don't really like saying my future plans on the internet, because in a way that means I have to abide by the things I'm saying, and you know, if I don't make a video about something someday, then somebody's gonna be like, hey, you said you were gonna do this like 37 years ago, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, never got around to that, did I? But anyway, the first thing I plan on doing is probably going to be a ZJ axle shaft swap, which, let me explain. Slow down, okay? Let me explain. It is literally a downgrade, and I don't really recommend anybody do it. But if you're not familiar, the axle shafts are connected to the stub axles by U-joints on the Cherokee. U-joints have a large handful of benefits, but they also have some drawbacks. So, they don't really do that great around tight turns, and because they only transmit a certain amount of rotation, you know, like
in the basic laws of physics of how U-joints work, they're not really that smooth. And because I don't really off-road this thing all that much, by putting ZJ shafts in here, they have constant velocity joints that connect this to the stub axle. So those are better around turns. And that makes the steering smoother. It makes it, you know, probably maybe gives you a tighter turning radius, stuff like that. You know, CV joints are not strong. They are prone to failure quite easily, but when they do fail, you can still drive the car. Yeah. So without spoiling too many details of that video, that's something I'm planning on doing. I also do have a brush guard for the front of it. I can't put that on right now because the front bumper is dented. So because of this little incident right here, the brush guard bracket doesn't fit over the bumper because it's like bent outward a little bit. So I gotta fix at least the bumper before I put that thing on, and at that point I may as well fix the header panel and the fender and everything, because if I have a brush guard and there's body damage right behind it, somebody's gonna look at that and be like, well, what's the point of the brush guard? So that's kind of like a cosmetic upgrade for the future, just kind of in the plan book right now. I think next up, honestly, however ambitious this may seem, I want to manual swap this thing. And I mean manual swap this thing. I'm talking factory level functionality. I'm talking working cruise control. I'm talking working reverse lights. I'm talking a freaking upshift indicator. I want to go all out with a manual swap on this bad boy, and I want to make a video about it so you too can do the same thing, because we need more manuals on the road. They are unrivaled for fuel efficiency, especially in older cars like this. So if I can get my hands on a 1997 donor I have recently located, definitely expect a manual swap video soon. I really hope I can do that. That would be awesome, because then not only would I have a 2001 manual XJ, but I could show everybody else how to make it possible as well. So that pretty much sums everything up. There is one more thing I forgot to mention I did to this. I always forget to mention this, actually. I do have an ASSI Design Works shift linkage. So watch this. Oh dang, it's not lined up right, so oh well. But you see how smooth this is to shift between the four-wheel drive modes? ASSI Design Works linkage, 100%, definitely worth it. That is easily the second best upgrade I've done to this thing behind the roller rockers. So that's pretty much everything I have time to talk about the XJ that's happened in the past 2 years. If you're not familiar with the channel, I do also have a 1987 MJ. This beast right here kind of has its own series. It is the greatest truck of all time. So yeah, this is a 1987 4.0 5-speed four-wheel drive long bed MJ. It's kind of, you know, been in Wisconsin for a long time, starting to fade out of existence. But honestly, this thing is awesome. It is a 5-speed, like I said. Currently does not have four-wheel drive, so that's next up for the MJ. It's kind of where we're at right now. I'm going to overhaul the front suspension because it's got death wobble, and I need to fix the four-wheel drive by bypassing the CAD system in the front. So that's just a quick, in case you were curious, I do got an MJ. If I'm going to make an update video on this, it's going to be its own separate update video, because this one's already long enough. But anyway, if you made it this far in the video, you deserve a treat. So really, I thank you all for watching. I know that I haven't really hit any sort of meaningful subscriber milestone beyond 1,000, but to those of you that are aware of my channel and watch my videos, whether you're subscribed or not, I do really appreciate it. It is my goal to make videos that are comprehensible, understandable, and all-encompassing when it comes to knowledge, because so many of the videos, not just for XJs, but for cars in general, are just people with a shaky camera filming in vertical mode, making the tutorial for the sake of bragging about the fact that, oh look, I fixed my car, I know how to do it, you're not as cool as me because you don't know how to fix your car. That's not what I'm about. I understand how helpful genuinely good tutorial videos are. It is my aspiration to make top quality content comparable to ChrisFix. Now, I know I'm never going to be as popular as ChrisFix because, you know, I'm kind of specifically focusing on Jeeps. Popularity has no meaning to me. I don't care about gaining fame. I care about making the best possible videos. So if you guys have any feedback for me on any of my videos, I would be more than happy if you just left a comment letting me know what I can do better. I know some things I need to work on are mic quality. You know, sometimes there's a lot of wind noise and ambient background noise in my videos. So I'm working on figuring that out. But yeah, just anything you guys want to let me know, let me know. But anyway, I'm gonna shut the hell up now and let you guys listen to the 4.0 as it idles through this Super 44 muffler, sounding like a beast of a V8, really.